It's a funny thing about this city. Everyone thinks they know its secrets. They walk these streets, read the papers, and figure they've got the whole story. But they don't know Oakhaven, not really. The real stories aren't in the headlines. They're tucked away on dusty shelves. After closing time, when the lights go dark and the doors are locked, the books begin to whisper. Not to everyone, mind you. It's only to those who are listening. Tonight, curiosity will be tested. Silence will be broken. And the truth will demand to be heard. Because in Oakhaven, the shadows remember. This is Shadows in Oakhaven, Episode 2, The Whispering Library. The Oakhaven Public Library was a building that looked like it was judging you. It was a massive stone fortress adorned with gargoyles that seemed to be reading invisible books, their stone brows furrowed in eternal concentration. Pip stood at the bottom of the steps, the Catalog of Cursed Curios open in his hands. Entry number 7, Pip read aloud, his voice echoing slightly in the empty street. The silence of the lambskin bindings. Location, biography section. Danger, do not speak. Barnaby sat on the pavement, licking a paw. He looked up at the imposing library, then back at Pip. He mused that being a cat made him naturally stealthy. Pip, on the other hand, breathed loudly enough to wake the dead. It says here, Pip continued, that the cursed object is a first edition of a book that was never written. If we find it, we can stop the haunting. Pip pushed open the heavy oak doors. They groaned, emitting a sound like a giant stomach rumbling. The inside of the library was vast. The ceiling was lost in shadow, and the shelves stretched up like canyon walls. But the most noticeable thing was the silence. It wasn't a peaceful silence. It was a heavy, suffocating silence. It felt as though cotton wool were being stuffed into their ears. "Hello?" Pip whispered. His whisper didn't echo. It simply fell out of his mouth and died on the floor. Suddenly, the air temperature dropped 10 degrees. Frost began to creep across the spine of a nearby encyclopedia. From the darkness of the reference section, a figure emerged. It was a woman, towering and translucent. Her body was composed of swirling gray fog, but the details were sharp. A tight bun of hair, severe glasses perched on a pointed nose, and a ruler held like a weapon. She was the Shush. She raised a finger to her spectral lips. The sound was deafening. It wasn't just a sound, it was a shockwave. Pip stumbled back. "Whoa, she's the Shush," narrowed her eyes. She pointed her ruler at Pip, and a beam of gray light shot out. Pip ducked just in time. The beam hit a bust of Shakespeare behind him. The bust's mouth vanished instantly, leaving smooth stone where the lips used to be. "She steals mouths." Pip shrieked quietly. "Barnaby, run." They scrambled into the maze of shelves. The Shush didn't run. She glided. She moved through the shelves, passing through books like smoke. Pip and Barnaby hid behind a cart full of returned books. "Okay," Pip mouthed, using exaggerated hand gestures. "We need to make noise to distract her, but if we make noise, she attacks. It's a catch-22. Barnaby rolled his eyes. He looked at the book cart and pawed at a thick tome titled The History of Canons. He tapped the book, looking at Pip. Pip shook his head vigorously. "Too loud. She zap us." Barnaby sighed a silent puff of air. He pushed the book off the cart anyway. "Thud." The Shush whipped around. She shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, and blasted the book. The volume disintegrated into confetti. But while she was distracted, Pip saw it. On a podium in the center of the room, surrounded by floating dust, was a book that glowed with a sickly green light. The cover was blank. The unwritten book, Pip thought. He bolted for the podium. The Shush saw him instantly. She raised her ruler, aiming right for Pip. Barnaby knew he had to act. Couldn't shout, couldn't throw anything heavy enough. He needed something annoying. He spotted the children's section nearby. On a low shelf sat a colorful book with a plastic speaker attached. The Noisy Farmyard. Barnaby leaped, landed with all 4 paws on the rooster button. Cock-a-doodle-doo. The electronic sound, distorted and tinny, ripped through the silent library. The Shush froze. She covered her spectral ears. The digital noise confused her ghost logic. She spun around, firing wild beams of silence at the children's book. Pip slid across the polished floor, squeaking his sneakers terribly, and grabbed the glowing book on the podium. He opened it. The pages were blank. "Write the ending," Pip yelled to himself. He grabbed a pen from the checkout desk. The Shush was turning back toward him, her glasses cracking with rage. Pip slammed the pen onto the blank page. He wrote, "The end." As soon as he dotted the period, a wind howled through the library. The Shush let out one final, frustrated sigh. She swirled into a vortex of gray mist and was sucked into the book. The book slammed shut, and the green glow faded. Sound rushed back into the room, the hum of the air conditioner, the distant traffic outside, and the sound of Pip's heavy breathing. "We're alive," Pip said, his voice working perfectly. He looked at the bust of Shakespeare. The mouth popped back onto the stone face. Barnaby walked over to the noisy farmyard book and gave it a respectful pat, deciding that annoying toys truly saved lives. Later that night, after Pip had logged the capture in the journal and gone to sleep, the library was quiet again. But deep in the history section, a shadow detached itself from a shelf. The collector floated into the aisle. He picked up the now ordinary blank book. He ran a long, spindly finger over the cover. "Sloppy," he whispered, his voice sounding like grinding gears. "Messy, but effective." He pulled a small, intricate pocket watch from his coat. He opened it, and a tiny wisp of gray smoke, the essence of the Shush, drifted out of the book and into the watch. "One piece closer," the collector murmured. "Soon, the silence will be permanent." He closed the watch with a sharp click and vanished into the dark. Subscribe now, so you don't miss a single secret.